we do a number of things. Chief among them is lobby elected officials, whether they be at the state, local, or the federal level, on matters that are of great importance to the hotel industry. So if we could go to the next slide. So over the last couple of years, obviously, we've all been dealing with the pandemic. In the United States, congressional action really began in March of 2020 as Congress started looking at ways that they could help keep the economy afloat. Everybody understands how dire the situation was back then. We began lobbying Congress to see how they could help specifically the hotel industry. Clearly, there are a number of industries that were devastated in our economy, whether it be cruise lines, airlines, restaurants, live music venues, sporting events, and then of course hotels. And so we began working with Congress to find ways to get resources to hoteliers so that they could maintain their businesses during the pandemic. We did have a lot of success. There were a number of programs that Congress authorized that specifically helped hoteliers and small businesses. The Paycheck Protection Program put billions of dollars into hoteliers' hands. There was not one, but two rounds of the Paycheck Protection Program. And in the second round, many of you might recall, if you're an American hotelier, that hotels and restaurants actually got 40% more than any other business during that time. And so we were very successful in being able to lobby Congress to get that done. And we thank them for their efforts, because without such, there would have been many hotels that simply would have gone out of business. Some of the other items, the emergency loan program, which was very successful and helped put billions more into the hands of hoteliers, freezing the federal per diem rate, what travelers, government travelers pay for hotels. Had it been left alone, it would have gone down significantly, but now they were frozen, and that put another $1 billion or so into the hotel economy. Also getting the employee retention tax credits, again, measured in the billions. And then finally, for those hotels that were struggling to make payments, being able to work with their bank in a way that allowed them to skip payments or defer payments until the end of the loan. That was extremely helpful. So those are just some of the successes we were able to have in working with our federal government. If you'll go to the next slide. It was about $50 billion in total resources at a minimum that went from the federal government to hoteliers. So at a minimum, about $50 billion. There are still state and local programs measured in the billions that we continue to work on even to this day to help encourage travel, to give direct grants to hoteliers that have been hurt the most during the pandemic. And so that $50 billion number is only going up each and every day. Let's go to the next slide. So where are we headed with business travel? There's no question that leisure travel in the United States is back. In fact, by the end of 2022, leisure travel will be pretty much the same place it was in 2019. In fact, from a RevPAR standpoint, even higher than 2019. But it's the business travel that continues to struggle. And you see here on the screen, the study that we had commissioned determined that by the end of 2022, business travel revenue will be about $20 billion less than it was in 2019. So again, a significant loss. Now keep in mind that between 2020 and 2021, and those 2 years, the main 2 years of the pandemic, overall losses to the United States hotel industry was measured at about $160 billion. This, of course, is another $20 billion layered on top of that through just business travel. And you can see there are some of the cities that are getting hurt the worst: San Francisco, New York, Washington, D.C., as they continue to struggle to come back from the pandemic and all of the lack of business travel that we've seen over the last 2.5 years. So that part of the outlook is looking tough. The leisure travel, as many of you know, whether you're in the United States or outside the United States, is really booming right now. I happen to be, as you can probably tell, in a hotel in Miami, Florida today, and this city is almost completely sold out. So there are some very bright spots around the country for hotel occupancy and hotel RevPAR. Let's go to the next slide. So we have been working since day one to create the health and safety standards for our industry in the United States, because we absolutely knew that if travelers were going to get back out on the road, the main thing they were going to want to see is that hotels are clean and safe. And so, we created the Safe Stay program. In addition to that, we created the Hospitality for Hope program, which allowed hoteliers to donate rooms to, at the very beginning, first responders and others who needed it. But this program has really been expanded well beyond just the needs of the pandemic to refugees and others who might need hotel rooms. And we're very proud of the Hospitality for Hope program. Our industry stepping up in a big time way to make sure that others are taken care of when they need that done. Our No Room for Trafficking campaign continues along with the 5-Star Pledge. Both of those meant to protect both the hotel employees and the hotel guests. Let's go to the next slide. All right, I don't know about your business, but I've been traveling extensively recently, and every place I go, it's the same story. We don't have enough workers. We do not have enough employees. There can be nothing more tragic than what we've seen here over the last few months, where a hotel is trying to come out of the pandemic losses and recover those losses. The demand is there, but they're actually having to shut down rooms because there's not enough workers to clean those rooms in some cases, and the standards have to be maintained, and they have been maintained. And so we're seeing a really, really difficult challenge across the country of people not having enough workers. We at AHLA want to change that, and we're doing everything in our power. There's really two ways that we're working on it. First and foremost is, how do we change the narrative to get people interested in hospitality, to make it a career? You know, there are over 200 career paths in the hospitality world, and yet people typically only think of hospitality, or specifically hotels, as either being someone working to clean rooms or at the front desk. And we have to remind them again and again, there are entry-level jobs, no question about it. And by the way, those jobs pay considerably right now. They've seen about a 20% increase over the last 2 years in wages. But those entry-level jobs are just that, entry. The opportunity to move up in the industry right now is better than it probably has ever been before. So if you're looking to make a career, the hotel industry is a fantastic place to do it. And we're building that message and hopefully delivering that message to people who are out there looking for work, thinking about what is the next step in their life. In addition to that, as I mentioned earlier, we're an advocacy organization. We lobby Congress all the time. The two issues we've been working on consistently are, how do we get major immigration reform that creates a legal workforce that our industry can rely on? In addition to that, how do we expand the work visa program that's already in place to bring more people into the United States that would like to work here? And there's an enormous desire for people to get into the US and work. And so we're trying all those things. It's an everything above approach for bringing more people into the United States and expanding job opportunities for those that are already here. But there's no question about it. This is the single biggest issue that American hoteliers face today, and that is a lack of labor. Let's go to the next slide.
I am Colleague Experience Manager. We work together to make work fun and how to care for others. Most of the times when I do the intake for our new colleagues, I put myself in those shoes. I remember when I was starting as a high room attendant, and they're in such shock. You were a housekeeper? You did this? And I explained, yes, I cleaned 16 rooms at once. I know how hard they work, but also I know how it is to just take pride in your work.
Gus has been shucking oysters for several years.
I've been there 27 years now, since I was 17, yeah. Please y'all do me one favor, do that, woo, woo.
And folks come back for them. They have people come back and say, no, I don't want to sit down. I want to sit with Cantrell. I want to sit with Gus, and from all over the country. And they've developed that rapport over the years. When you find a place where you're comfortable, where you have good benefits, where you enjoy the work environment, and you enjoy the customers, and you're able to make a good living, why would you want to deviate from there?
I'm Derek Jefferson, and I'm a lobby ambassador at the Royal Sonesta New Orleans. As a lobby ambassador, I work in the guest service department at a hotel. I went to school for chemistry, actually, and when I got locked into the industry while working in school, I just couldn't see myself doing anything else but working with people.
All right, so you can see the approach we're taking and showing people what a fantastic career you can make out of hospitality. And that's a message that we need to send everywhere to encourage more people to join our industry. So here are the stats. The key takeaways: business travel will continue to be down nearly 25% below the pre-pandemic levels. Labor is a major issue. Each time you have to replace someone, there's about a 30% cost layered on top of that. And we are working to solve that problem by changing the narrative around what it means to work in the hospitality industry. Let's go to the next slide. All right, so the future of hospitality, where are we headed? We just recently went through a strategic plan change ourselves. And the major items that came out from the hospitality industry here in the United States, the top issues that we're working on, again, are labor, labor union issues that we face here in the US, the short-term rental challenge, otherwise known as Airbnb in some cases, how are we making sure there's a level playing field, that everyone in hospitality, or at least in the hotel industry that is providing lodging services, are playing by the same rules. That is critically important. And then we're leading as an industry on sustainability, diversity, and trafficking. Preventing human trafficking in hotels is a major, major issue for us here at AHLA and our foundation. And so those are the items that are part of our new strategic plan that we will be heavily focused on over the next 5 years. Let's go to the next slide. Key takeaways: things are getting better, no question about it. That the last 2 years, 2.5 years, have been a major struggle. But as we look at where the hotel industry is today, I think ultimately we'll be in a stronger place. People love to travel. You cannot replace human interaction. There's a lot of pent-up demand. That's why you're seeing this incredible leisure travel boom. That's going to be with us for quite some time. The ability to work from anywhere actually, I believe, significantly benefits our industry. Will there be some trips that get replaced by technology? Of course. But there will also be, and we're already seeing this, the leisure portion of a trip attached to a business trip. In fact, we commissioned a study recently, and of all business travelers, 90% of them say they're now attaching leisure to their business trip, which means they're either going in a day early or they're staying a day late because they can work from their hotel room. And so I think that flexibility, the ability to work remotely, is actually going to help the hotel industry. And we're beginning to see signs of it. So no question, the future is bright. Big challenge right now. And you mentioned training, and we know intuitively, and we also know from survey data, that training is maybe the key issue as to why people leave their job right now in our industry. You know, the demand is there. And so when people get hired, we have a tendency in our industry right now to just put them to work. You know, like, all right, we got all this demand, go work. But the reality is they need better training. They need longer training. They need more human investment, because those who get the training tend to stay a lot longer. And as I mentioned earlier, when you have a person turn over in that role, you usually have to put 30% more on top of it for that year to replace that person for everything that goes along with hiring another person and getting them trained as well. And so training is absolutely critical. It will be the reason that we change the turnover rate in our industry if we can successfully do that. And so no question, labor and workforce are the issues that everybody is facing right now. And, you know, society is just different. I heard somebody describe it the other day that the young people have created almost like what's known as a subscription lifestyle. They subscribe to everything. They subscribe to their internet service. They subscribe to all the television channels that they used to watch through cable television. They're now subscription services. They subscribe to their car. They subscribe to their house. Few of them are buying a home. They're renting a home. You even now have digital nomads that are literally going everywhere. And so if you understand that the younger generation, what they're looking for, they want flexible work hours, they want interesting work, they want instant pay, they want to be properly trained. And if you can't keep them engaged, they're going to look for a job elsewhere. And so it's really important that our industry do those things to make sure that all the workers are happy, they're satisfied, and they see a really successful career ahead of them. The obvious thing are the jobs that are created. There's that everyone understands that. But hoteliers all across the world, the amount of charity that we give back, and I mentioned a moment ago, just through our Hospitality for Hope program, It's pretty incredible. We had a situation, if you go back to May of 2020, right when the pandemic is just exploding all over the United States, there was an enormous demand for first responders, and in some cases, people that needed to be quarantined, who actually had COVID. There was a huge housing demand for those folks. Remember, we had first responders going all over the country to the hotspots to help out. And so we created that Hospitality for Hope program. And think about it, at that particular time in May of 2020, almost all hotels were closed or they were operating at a very low percentage of what they had previously been operating just a few months before. And so everyone was losing tons of money. And yet, despite that, we had tens of thousands of hotels make their or participate in the program and make rooms available to give to local folks who needed rooms. You know, when our communities needed us the most, our industry stepped up, and we always do. And so, yeah, it's a real thing that hotels play an important role in any local community. Just think about even things like life's greatest memories, whether it be a reunion, a wedding, again, a school reunion, a sports team that is traveling, a business meeting, a vacation. All those things happen at a hotel. And so we're proud to be the centerpiece of many local communities and continue to do wonderful things in those communities. There's no question that this has become a significant issue that people are concerned about. Investors are concerned about it. Travelers are concerned about it. Meeting planners are concerned about it. And as an industry, we need to make sure that we're telling our story. You know, there has been recently some concern over what is the impact of travel. And I think, first of all, travel is not going to go away. We need travel as human beings. It makes the world a better place. So how can we have the least carbon footprint possible for travel? Well, hotels play a role in that, making sure that our operations, what we're doing each and every day, are not contributing to the problem, but in many cases, helping the problem. And you see, I was just reading the other day about a hotel that was not only carbon neutral, it was carbon positive. So it was actually making an impact, or maybe the proper term would be carbon negative. It was actually making an impact with all of the trees that they had planted in and around and even on top of the hotel. So it was a wonderful story. But making sure that we as an industry create a baseline of standards is what we're working on with our current sustainability program. And so we're working with all the major brands, major ownership groups, major management companies around the world and saying, all right, what can we all agree on that everyone can do, and create that as a baseline standard that we are then communicating to the public, to the travelers, to the investors, to let them know this is what the hotel industry is doing. Keep in mind that even when you create those baseline standards, there will be specific hotels, specific brands that go above and beyond that. We certainly encourage that. But as a minimum, we as an industry should unite around those common goals. And that's exactly what we're doing with our sustainability program.